Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to our sort of new players let's play of Civilization 6. Where we left off, we had made the decision that we will be settling on the tobacco for a number of reasons. Also, it's quite close to these horses, which will make it easier to get access to those. We have 200 gold in the bank, and 200 gold is a significant number because 200 gold is typically how much it costs to purchase the first builder. Now, before we do this, we have to ask the question, can we actually do anything with this builder right now? Are there any tiles that we can realistically improve and make better? And so if we look at our current situation, we have a horse tile over here that we'd really like to get online because that will give us the strategic resource to give us horsemen, which we definitely want to have horsemen, right? Because we're playing as we're playing as Scythia, and Scythia is all about horsemen, light cavalry units. So definitely we would like to improve those horses. But what we're going to do is something a little bit unorthodox. We're actually going to buy the horse tile first before we buy the builder. And that's for two reasons. First of all, if we look at this march tile, it's 3 food, 0 production, whereas this horse tile is 3 food, 1 production. So we're going to buy the horse tile because it's just better than the march tile that we are currently working. So now our city is just better than it was. Additionally, if I were to buy the builder right now, I wouldn't actually be able to walk over there and take and improve the horse tile because I would have to buy it. And because the horse tile is in the 3rd ring of the city won't naturally grow there until the 2nd ring is finished. So it would have to acquire every single one of these tiles through natural border growth before it would ever consider going for the horses. Also, I've got a warrior and a slinger ready to go ahead and kill this barb camp over here, which will net me a bit of cash, which will mean I'll be able to buy the builder in a few turns anyway with my natural income. So I think it's better to buy the horse tile first than the builder first. So that's kind of where we are going with there. Now, we could go for something like the Temple of Artemis. I'm going to avoid going for any wonders and stuff like that. I think wonders are a very complex subject for a new player, and really, you should just kind of avoid them unless you have fun getting them. And just focus on like sort of general, more sort of broader strategies. And I'm going to start sending my slinger over in the direction of this barbarian encampment as well, to assist this warrior in case any units spawn or anything like that. Now we're going to use this knowledge and poke up here. It looks like there's a tribal village there. I'm going to go ahead and poke in here. I'm not under major pressure to pick that up, and I'd like to know if this is a lake or not. It's the sort of normal stuff. I'm just doing some casual scouting. And it looks like we have met the Khmer. And we also met Dido. So this is going to bring up some important points for us as players. The very first turn that you meet a civilization, you have 0 diplomatic status with them. And what that means is, the very first turn that you meet a civilization, they neither hate you or love you. And what that means is it's much easier to do diplomacy with a civilization on the very first turn that you meet them. So for example, if I were to go in here and talk to Dido, and I look here, you see this is -3, which should set her to being unhappy with us. But because it's the first turn that we met her, she's neutral, which means we can send her things like a delegation, which will improve our relationship with her. We could, for example, sell her any resources that we had, if we had resources. We don't have resources. So what we can do is decide, well, are we going to be friendly with these guys, or are we going to be killing them? And I think in the context of going for a militaristic game as Scythia, we're probably going to be killing them, right? Because our plan is war-based. Just poke in there so we can get a better idea of this terrain. So I'm not going to bother sending them delegations, but both of these players should become unhappy with me next turn, and I'll hopefully get a chance to demonstrate that to you. So this actually was a lake, and oh, I didn't know that lakes could have cliffs. I guess I was wrong about that. Well, you know, sometimes we say things that are incorrect. There's also a barb camp up here that I would like to clear. And another tribal village that I would like to pick up. So in the interest keeping things moving. There's a free population in our capital city. And every time you get like something like that, don't be afraid to just check your city and see if it's working, things that make sense. Check the food surplus. It's at +2 food, so I don't need to adjust anything in the early game. Once it gets to 5 population, you don't need quite so much food surplus. I'm going to explain why once we get there. I'm going to take my warrior to the east here. I'm just generally exploring. I already see where this player is, and I can see that they're going to be really, really difficult to attack. So I don't need to directly scout them. I'm going to bring this warrior down through here, because this is the closest piece of terrain. There's no objective that he can get to before any of my other units can get to. So I could send him off to this barbarian encampment up here, right? But he would take a very, very long time to get up there, compared to this guy. Now this guy is already engaged with an objective, which is to kill this barb camp, but he can probably clear this barb camp and make it up here before this guy would ever make it up here. So I'm just going to choose to do a little bit of scouting with this guy instead. And we're also bringing in our slinger. We'll bring you down here to get that tribal village, also known as a goody hut. So this is an important thing that you can do is, it's called baiting the spearman. So by standing this slinger 2 tiles away from the barbarian encampment, this slinger is going to want to attack my slinger, right? Because he makes the deduction that he can kill the slinger if he gets attacks off, which means I don't have to attack him right now, because if you can see the shape of his banner, it looks like a shield, and that's because he's fortified. And when a unit fortifies, down here in the bottom left, or bottom right rather, you can actually see he has a +6 fortified defense bonus. It appears right here when I hover over him. +6 fortified defense bonus. So I could attack him this turn, or I could wait a turn. He'll likely come try to attack my slinger, and then I can attack him without any combat penalties, or bonuses in this case. This is some really, really awkward terrain. I don't know why I went north there. I just acted instinctively. Sometimes I do that where I just make a move without thinking. Gotta kind of catch that stuff. So it looks like Jayavarman decided to send me a delegation. So his relationship has flipped to a more friendly approach. Is this completely closed off? I need to know. And so you can see the spearman has come out of the barbarian encampment to try to get my slinger. And now I get to clear the barb camp for free and get all the juicy rewards. And then I get to attack this guy with my slinger. There's Valletta. And it's worth it whenever you meet a city-state, just check what their mission is. Looks like Akkad wants me to build an encampment, and Valletta wants me to get a trade route. Now, Valletta is quite far away, so I probably won't be able to send them a trade route for a long time. But I am about to unlock encampments, so I could very easily send Akkad I could very easily build an encampment for them. Now that I have cleared that barb camp and I got a bunch of extra gold, I'm going to go ahead and purchase a builder to go capture this horse tile over here so that I can start generating strategic resources.
Bronze is the mirror of the form.
Another important thing you're going to want to note is when you kill a barbarian encampment, any units that are related to that encampment, i.e. they came from or were spawned by that encampment, will become aggressive. Typically scouts are non-aggressive. Barbarian scouts will just kind of walk past your units. But once you clear the barb camp, they're much more likely to attack your units. So that's something to keep in mind. So we're going to send the settler down to settle on the tobacco. And I can send this settler out alone for 2 reasons. I already have military units in the area, and I know that there are no barbarian units in the local vicinity that could capture my settler. That's the first reason. And the second reason is that I'm playing single player, and the AI is much less likely to try to capture your builders or your settlers compared to multiplayer. Now, I have bronze working, and I'm working my way towards horseback riding. I'm about to build a pasture, so I'm going to get started working on horseback riding so I can start building a horse military. I'm also going to build an encampment. However, I need a little bit more gold. So what can I do? I need to wait 6 to 7 turns before I can do this. Well, one thing I want to unlock is a production boost to building my cavalry. So I'm going to get to work on researching the maneuver policy. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and either get a settler or a monument. But I know for a fact that I'm going to want to build an encampment in about 6 turns, which is when I will have enough gold, roughly speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and just get the monument because the timing of this, even though it's not something I really, really want, the timing of it lines up very nicely with my need to build an encampment. Alternatively, I could get an archer or a spearman or a warrior, right? All these things line up pretty nicely. But I'm going to go ahead and get the monument because it lines up nicely and it gives me the culture that will allow me to get the important civics up here, because my culture rate is quite low, and you're always going to want to be checking these numbers, see which one is low, which one do I need more of, and then planning around how to actually get more of that. Now that I have craftsmanship, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on military tradition or state workforce. Now in this case, I don't need military tradition immediately, and I'm going to be building a district soon, which is the boosting for state workforce. So we're going to work on state workforce because I want to get the government plaza, because the government plaza has the warlord's throne building, which gives all of my cities a 20% bonus production whenever I capture a city, right? And that feeds into the game plan of me playing Scythia, which is we want to be very aggressive. We want to attack people. We want to kill people. We might even kill Hattusa or city-states and stuff like that. This guy has a very awkward bit of terrain to attack into, but we will still continue on doing it. I don't know who I'm going to attack first. Looks like it's actually going to have to be the Khmer, because otherwise this terrain down here looks really, really rough. I'm going to send this warrior up to this barbarian encampment. And I'll send the slinger that direction as well. Actually, I'll send the slinger to guard the tobacco tile where the settler is coming. Because I just want to, like, as a newer player, right? If I'm a newer player, I would just want to play with a little bit more safety. And so you can see if I go to here, I won't be able to get there, but I can kind of slip through and make all this knowledge gain. And I want to know what kind of terrain I'm going to be attacking into. Looks like my scout over here cleared the tribal village, which gave me access to a 20 faith, which will almost get me a Pantheon. I'm going to send my scout down a tile, and this is an important thing. My scout has enough experience to get a promotion. And what you're going to want to do is look at the terrain around you to make a decision about which promotion you take, whether it's Ranger or Alpine. In this case, I see an awful lot of forest, so I'm going to take Ranger because that'll mean it'll be easier for my scout to move through forested terrain. This is a very weird map. And so now my builder is in position to build a pasture, which will get me the tech boost for horseback riding, which means I'll be closer to the things that I want to do in that regard. Which is very nice. Okay, so this warrior is mostly redundant. I'm going to send him this way to maybe do a little bit of extra scouting information while these units move to the north. Now that I can see there's no units in this area that could cause me a problem, I'm just going to go ahead and send my slinger up here to help with this barbarian encampment. My builder over here has finished his job. He's improved this tile again, and I'm going to go ahead and pick him up. And there's not really a tile in here that I want to improve right now, so I'm just going to send him down here to get into position to improve this horse pasture tile, which would give me more resources that I can build my light cavalry army with. So I'm going to settle this city. And the reason I'm settling the city before I move the scout is that settling the city will make movement in the area easier, because it's always very easy to move through a city's territory. You see here, the scout can only move to here and here. If I settle the city, the scout can move all the way down here because it eliminates a lot of the movement penalties of walking around this area. We'll head you to there. And now, in the second city, what I'm going to want to do is go straight for a monument. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of really nice tiles around here that I want this city to grow to. For example, the jade, the stone, the horses. And so if I focus on building a monument in here, I can get those tiles unlocked faster without having to spend gold to unlock them, which is really, really important. I'm going to accept the delegations from these AI players. So we've completed the monument in here. And we want to build the encampment. And I was actually not going to have enough gold until I think they sent me a delegation. So what we can do here is, since we have a strategic resource, or we have the tobacco, we could go ahead and talk to the Khmer, for example, and say, hey, here is my tobacco. What will you give me? They would give me 14 gold and 1 gold per turn. And so typically how you translate this is 1 gold per turn is worth roughly 25 gold instantly. And then I add the 14, which brings us up to, I think, 39 gold. He should roughly accept 39 gold. Might even go a little bit higher. And so if I needed a little bit of gold to sort of make up for the fact that I needed to purchase a tile to build the encampment, because I don't want to build an encampment on a forest, especially a forest river tile. I would really like to put it, say, somewhere down in this direction. But I think just for the sake of this game, I'm going to go ahead and choose this desert tile, because this desert tile is not really of much use. I don't plan to build the pyramids, I don't plan to build the Petra, so I don't need this tile for anything else, so I'll just throw the encampment down on that tile, because it is a low value tile that doesn't really do anything. And since I don't need this encampment to defend my empire, right, because I'm behind a whole huge mountain range, I don't need to place the encampment in a place that would make my empire more defended. So, identifying all of these things that my situation is demanding of me, I am going to need the ability to embark on water. And what that means, I'm going to need to get all the way up to shipbuilding, which is only 2 technologies away, but it is like 250 science. So if I can bring that need sort of to heal, that will be good. And the reason I'm going to need shipbuilding is because I can see there's a lot of water in between me and my opponents, right? There's a lake here that I'm going to need to be able to navigate through. Otherwise, I'll have to funnel all of my units through this incredibly narrow passageway. In fact, I actually want to do a little bit of scouting down here so that I can see this passage in case I can get a trade route to my allies, or my enemies, rather. You want to have a trade. You want to trade with people that you're attacking, which seems a little bit paradoxical because it gives you a road that you can move your troops along. We were granted a free scout. Let's send this scout through this passageway too, because we've basically explored everything else. Now we're in position to take these horses. These horses are a little bit expensive, so we're going to have to wait. But we don't have a major use for this builder right now, so it's okay to just keep him there. Now, speaking personally as a player, I like to just hit the skip turn button on my units rather than put them to sleep, because I have a really bad memory and I often forget to wake them back up. If you don't have a hard time doing that, go ahead and just use the sleep function. But just speaking personally, I'm pretty bad at that. So I'm probably just going to have this warrior hang out in this direction for a bit. There's another chunk of faith. That's excellent, because that means we are now able to more easily get our Pantheon, and we can use our Pantheon to boost our entire empire. This is a bit of a weird situation. I don't often find myself in a situation like this where, you know, there's all this like mountains and stuff and there's ocean in the way. I often find myself on much more open maps, so this is a kind of interesting. I think it just so happened that the continent lines ran through things in a bit of a strange way, and the mountains lined up. I think that is one criticism. I think this is my biggest criticism of the current iteration of the game. I think the mountain range thing is a little bit too aggressive, and there's not enough mountain passes, and too many of them are only 1 wide. I think they need to open up the game a little bit. This mountain pass stuff is like way too aggressive. There could very easily be a 2 wide mountain pass here, this could be open. Like I think I like the idea of the mountain range thing, but I think they're just a little bit too aggressive in my opinion. And I'd like to have just a few, like just one or two scattered mountains throughout this terrain would be pretty nice. Just like maybe one here, maybe one up here, right? I think the mountains are kind of concentrated in these kind of odd ways that I don't really like. And that's kind of like another thing entirely. So now we have a choice of a Pantheon. So we need to start asking questions like, okay, what do these Pantheons do and how do they help my game plan? So my game plan is to kill people. My game plan is to build cavalry and attack people. So how does that help? Let's see here. Down to the Aurora. Holy sites get +1 faith from adjacent tundra. Well, let's have a look and evaluate this Pantheon, right? I don't plan to build holy sites. I don't really need faith. I don't have tundra. So by all counts, this is not really useful. And so by making those judgments, we can sort of apply this to these things as well. I don't really plan on building holy sites, so anything that gives me a bonus from a holy site, I can kind of discard. I don't plan on building any wonders, so I don't need Monument of the Gods. I'm not really planning on building holy sites campuses or amphitheaters. I'm kind of planning on just getting military units out. I might build more of these later, but my strategy isn't built around these things. +1 production from oasis, marsh, and desert floodplains. I don't really have any of those things. I have like a couple of marshes and a like oasis down here, but it's not really like super valuable to me. Also, I don't really have any fishing ships. I don't have any coastal cities. A God of the Open Sky, on the other hand, would give me precious culture. And I have quite a few pastures around, so that might be something of value. There's also these Goddess of the Hunts here, and you can see I've got a camp here. And that's it. I have one camp. One camp just doesn't really cut the mustard for getting an entire Pantheon based around it. I don't really have a whole lot of stone. I have like a couple of quarryable resources around, so stone circles would be okay. I don't really have a use for faith. God of the Forge here is very, very interesting because this gives me a 25% production boost towards ancient and classical era military units, and part of my strategy is going to be building a lot of horsemen. So this Pantheon really, really appeals to me because I don't plan to do anything else with my bonuses, and by taking this bonus, now I'm even better at getting units out, and I'm able to win the war a few turns sooner because my units come out a few turns sooner, right? So there's sort of a logical progression there. And like it's often those are the sorts of decisions you need to make. You just need to make, well, what am I doing? How does this thing help me achieve my goal, and stuff like that. So if you ever find yourself in this situation where you're being attacked by a unit that is stronger than the unit that you have, just stand in a defensive tile and fortify. That's all you need to do. Your barbarian scout can actually pretty much hold off most things your scout can hold off most things that a barbarian encampment can spawn. As long as you're standing on a defensive piece of terrain and you're fortified and not doing anything silly like running around with a low health barbarian. I could counterattack, but I'm just going to fortify because I don't want to lower the health of this unit, because if there's another unit in the fog here, this scout dies. Whereas if I fortify, I'll take less damage and I have the option to run away. Okay, I have finished the... Oh, you know what I really need? I really need this... I really need the ability to make trade routes. I'm going to finish state workforce, but I'm going to queue up foreign trade next. So I completed the encampment, which is interesting. So now I'm starting to generate great general points because I finished the encampment. If you're not sure what something does, either like hover over it or go into the city thing here, click this button down here, and then head up to the district buildings, wonders, and trading posts, and then just right click. It doesn't actually work. Well, you can go up to Civipedia, type in encampment. Oops, I messed that up. Type in encampment, click on it, and you can read all the important information over here on the right, right? It gives me +1 great general point, it gives me 2 gold and 1 production if I work it with my citizens, it gives me production from trade stuff, and here's all the buildings that you can build in it. So now I have a set of decisions, right? I would like to build a stable over a barracks, even though the stable is more expensive by 30 production, because I plan on building light cavalry, not on infantry. But what do I do this turn? Well, getting my great general a few turns sooner would be quite nice, so I might just put 1 turn into this encampment training to finish later. Because what I would like to do is to start working on the stable as soon as possible once the city is finished, once I have this stable researched. And one thing you can do to remind yourself is to just put a pin down near the city and say, change to stable, right? Or something like that. You just put a pin down to remind yourself, because sometimes I forget. You know, or you can even put in a turn counter, like, I would say change production, and then put the turn counter at the end, or production. And then put like a 1. So I know in one turn I have to change this, and it's kind of like a reminder to yourself. Just try to use all the tools of the game that the game gives you to help yourself. And so you can see here, we've baited the spearman out again. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the barb cap, get the gold, shoot this guy. Now that I have gold, I can come down here in Isaac and buy the horse tile, and then I can improve the horse tile, and then I get, not only do I get a better tile for this city to work, but I get even more horses per turn. Now I'm getting 4 per turn. Now, question, did I actually find any iron? And a great way to answer that question is to open up this map search function over here, type in the word iron, and then click search. And then hit these arrows. And it looks like the 2 sources of iron that I know of actually spawned very far away from me. So I know that my warriors aren't going to form an important part of the next part of my strategy, which is the attack. So there's no point in me going for iron working, right? Because I've revealed iron, I haven't found any iron, so there's no point of that. That is one thing that really annoys me, is when you don't find iron. That kind of really bothers me, actually. There is the Ottomans. Am I on Pangea? I could have sworn...
Is wasted. It is equally important.
Okay, I could have sworn that I was on continents, but you never know. But anyway, there's the Ottomans. So we're just going to hang out and heal up on this guy. And we've also, this barbarian spearman has attacked my slinger. And so what I'm going to do is take the heal on my slinger and then attack with my warrior to kill. So now I have 2 fully healed units, and I even have a level. Archers could form a part of my war machine going forward. I've unlocked horseback riding, so I want to get to work on the stable as soon as possible. So now that I have horseback riding, I need to start identifying, okay, so what do I need as... do I need anything else to support my war, or do I need to transition? So some of the things that we might need to support our war is, for example, gold. We might need a commercial hub to keep our units fed, quote unquote fed, in terms of gold income. We're also going to need sailing and shipbuilding in order to be able to actually embark the coast. So what I could do is I could slip in for riding, maybe pick up a campus somewhere to get the little bit of extra science that will speed up how quickly we can get these other 2 things. So that's the plan, right? We by identifying our goals, we can then identify what actions we need to take. So our goal is we need a few techs researched, and we don't have a whole lot of tech right now. So it would probably be a good idea to maybe get campuses, maybe get a campus out, right? And we have over here, this scout is just hanging out because he's got nowhere he can really get to. And sometimes you just got to accept that, like, your scouts can't get anywhere and there's not really a whole lot of usefulness you can get out of them. I guess I could, in theory, send them up this way. Or up this way, but I have units that are closer to that. So I'll send this warrior up along the coast here to see if there's anything. I'm just going to have this slinger hang out here to... By revealing the area, you can prevent barbarian spawning. So I'm going to get him to hang out here as a quote-unquote fog buster. Fog busters are basically units that prevent barbarians from spawning. That's all they do. So this guy is pretty well healed, and in order to get a level up, I'm going to attack this guy because I will kill him, get a heal, and then also get a promotion that I'll be able to scout faster with him. We can see here we actually found a natural wonder. You can kind of tell by the unique graphics here, this is either volcanic soil or a natural wonder when you encounter unique graphics like this. So for example, if I look at the edge of a mountain, You see they don't spill over, but unique things tend to spill over into other tiles. I'm going to see if I can find a good example of that. Not really any good examples, but once you see it, I think it's one of the lakes, either the Salt Lake or Lake Retba or something. So I've got a builder here, and I've got a luxury here that I can improve. So I'm going to go ahead and send my builder down here to improve that luxury, and I'll even buy the luxury tile this turn.
No man ever wetted clay and then left it.
There's pottery. Let's go ahead and attack this slinger.
Water, water.
And there's Lake Retba.
Nor any drop.
Looks like there might actually be a way around this. So we're about to finish the monument in here, which will let us get these important technologies like military tradition, political philosophy, all that sort of stuff. We'll go ahead and build a mine right there. And do I want to work this? I think I'm mostly interested in actually just getting the luxury. And now that I have 2 luxuries, right, I can see that I have +2 luxuries. And having more than +2 luxuries is really good, but having more than +1 isn't very good. And so how does that mean? How does that work, right? +1 luxury gives you a 5% bonus to all of the yields in your city, right? So if I hover over this production here, you can see I'm getting a +5%, 0.2%, or 0.2 production bonus. Having 2 positive amenities gives you the exact same bonus. However, having 3 gives you 10%. So basically, you want to have your positive amenities either be 1 or 3. So if I have only +2 amenities, I may as well sell off one of my other amenities for gold, and I can use that gold to translate into my other goals. So for example, I might sell tobacco here to Dido, or I might sell jade here to the Ottomans. And typically what you're going to want to do is just kind of shop around, see what people are paying for different resources. So it looks like the best deal I got was from the Ottomans, and it was for jade. And he was going to give me 2 gold per turn plus 1 gold, which translates to for every 1 gold per turn, you want 25 gold. So that's 50 gold, and then another gold for the one he was offering, and that should roughly hit the mark. It looks like he's slightly less willing for that trade, and you just slowly take away gold until he accepts it. So why am I taking this sort of what I call raw gold or immediate gold or non-gold per turn? And it's for 2 reasons. If I take gold per turn and then end up declaring war or having the AI declare war on me, it'll cancel that gold per turn deal. So gold right now is worth a lot more than gold later, because the gold later deal can be cancelled by going to war or any other sort of thing, and the game can be sometimes unpredictable. If I'm doing a really peaceful game, I will actually exclusively try to maximize how much gold per turn I can get to try to sort of siphon off as much of the AI's economy as possible. But in this case, I could conceive that I could go to war with the Ottomans in the next 30 turns, and so I wouldn't get the full value. Also, gold in your pocket now means more than gold in your pocket later, because gold as a resource, you generate more and more of it as the game goes on, and so therefore the individual value of a single piece of gold goes down as the turn counter of the game goes up, right? So that's why you get a little bit less gold total, but you get it earlier, which means you can make use of it earlier, which means you get the benefit of that gold earlier. So hopefully that explains things a little bit. And you could also make the argument that I should be settling more cities, and those are very, very valid arguments. I'm going to go ahead and jump in this Plains Hill. So I have 2 tiles here that I could hide in. I have either this Plains Woods or this Plains Hill Woods. And hills give you +3 combat defense when you're being attacked, and so do woods. So total, my scout here, even though he would lose in a straight up fight against this guy, even with all the bonuses, right? The +5 versus wounded units, the +5 against barbarians, the fact that he's just a weaker, naturally weaker unit means I should use defensive terrain to trick this guy into attacking me, and then I'll win that fight. So the question is, do I want to build a government plaza here, or do I want to build a encampment here, and I think I already have my encampment up in my capital. So what I'll do is I'll build the government plaza here on a tile that isn't super useful, like for example this tile right here. It is a nice forest tile, and ideally I would chop that before I put a district on it, but sometimes you don't have the option, and I want to get this government plaza done as soon as possible, so I'll plop that in there and get to work on it. And I'm not settling too many cities because I'm playing on a very low difficulty level, so you only need like two to four cities on Prince to win the game, honestly. For a domination, on like the higher your difficulty level is, the more cities you're going to want to settle in order to guarantee a win condition.
That's the positive aspect.
So I also have a promotion banked here, and I can use that promotion to heal, and now this guy will have to kind of eat all the way through my health again. I'll go ahead and get this kill as well. So my guy gets a heal, and he also has a promotion banked as well, and then I can go ahead and clear out this tribal village and maybe look for some stuff over here. So I've completed foreign trade, and I really want a trader so that I can trade with Akkad or Anchor Thom, so that I can get a road going through this mountain range, because this is the only route that I have to attack this guy. So if I can get a road through here, it'll make moving my army, when I build my army, much easier. So I'm going to build a trader in Issyk. I'm also going to go in here and choose a civic. Now that we are in a position, I'm going to go ahead and get early empire. And the reason I'm going to get early empire is because that leads towards political philosophy, right? If I click on political philosophy, I have to get early empire first. The question is, when this stable is done, are we going to be building horses? And I think we're not quite ready to build horses. I would like to get 1 to 2 more cities done before I build any horse units. And the reason for that is when you're on the offensive, you want a couple of your cities behind it building infrastructure to support the offensive. And infrastructure is typically things like commercial hubs, tile improvements that cover strategic resources, or traders to give you more roads, all that sort of stuff. Also, I got a governor there, and I never really talked about it at all. So in this instance, there's actually quite a few governors that could be really useful to me here. I could go for Victor and go for Embrasure here. That would give me a free promotion on my units. I could get Magnus here, which would allow me to chop more efficiently. I could get Pingala, which would give me the ability to go for extra science and culture. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just appoint Victor, because my idea is I'm just going all in on this military thing, and I'm planning to build my military units in Pokrovka anyway. So I think that's going to work best for me. Anyway, I'm going to call that the end of the episode. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.